are on our panel discussion, Building Trust and Innovating Experiences in the Public Sector. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, during this panel discussion, we talk with CX experts at different organizations to hear about customer experience success stories and about strategies to improve experiences. You learn about the ways to build customer trust, incorporating emerging technology into your service, form partnerships to advance mission goals, and more tips to take back to your agencies. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for our panelists, we have with us Professor Dr. Engineer Enia Listiana Dewi, the Deputy Chairperson for Technology of Information, Energy and Material, BPPT, Indonesia. Well, Enia is active as the board director for International Association Hydrogen Energy, and she's also the founder and chair for Indonesia's Association for Fuel Cell and Hydrogen Energy. She's currently leading the National Priority Program developing of charging station, geothermal energy, and industrial salt project. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we're joined by Francil Margaret Taborlupa, the IS officer at the National Task Force National Incidents Command Emergency Operations Center, Philippines. Well, she's someone who's experienced information technology professional with a demonstrated history of working in the Army Management Information Center, catering to the IS needs for the whole armed forces of the Philippines. Somebody who's skilled in research, training, system analysts, networks, project management, chairmanship, moderator, VIP security, and gender studies and consultancy work. Well, ladies and gentlemen, also we are joined by Setyaji, the head of ICT agency, West Java Provincial Government, Indonesia. Well, Setyaji is somebody who has a demonstrated history of working in the government administration industry, and he's also skilled in analytical skills, customer service, government, business development, and strategic planning. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us our panelists, Juan Intan Kangrawan, the head of Data Analytics, Jakarta Smart City, Indonesia. Well, Juan focuses on to fully utilize data to formulate public policy and to improve quality of public services. He's also developing and aligning strategic partnership framework between GSC and government agencies, business enterprises, research agencies, and universities. And this entire panel discussion is going to be moderated by Dr. Adam Shee, the Chief Smart Health Leadership Center Institute of System Science, National University of Singapore. Well, Dr. Adam has more than 20 years of health informatics, digital health, innovation, technologies, and business experience. Well, with this, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you our panel on your stage and screen. Thank you all for joining us. Over to you, Adam, for taking it forward with your panel.
Right. Thanks a lot, Bhavna. So I just received an update that Ania would not be joining us. So for today's panel, it's just the three participants and myself. So a very warm welcome to all the panelists. As mentioned by Bhavna, my name is Adam, and I'm from Singapore. So today's topic, or at least for our panel, we're going to talk about building trust and innovating experiences in the public sectors. And earlier on, we have heard from the MC the various panelists' profile, which is very, very impressive. What I would like to do is to let each panel member go around, introduce themselves, but as opposed to their work history, which has already been briefly mentioned, I'd like the panelists to maybe talk about their work with regards to CX. So perhaps I can start off with Francel. Yep.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Hi, Adam. I'm really glad that I'm part of this. As mentioned earlier, I'm most of my career is actually spent in the military service. So as a signal officer, I am the chief. I started as a chief information systems branch chief. And basically, in terms of customer experience, we are the ones who developed information systems for the forces. So my experience in terms of experience is how entice our ask our unit to develop systems for that. That's it. And then how do we sustain all of these projects? How we try to value our customer of sorts. So now in my service, I'm now I'm part of the National Force Against COVID-19. And so we basically cater to the whole of the nation now. So how do we address their concerns? How do we respond? We work in terms of CX as the Thank you.
Thank you. That's actually very impressive if you have to deal with COVID on the scale of the Philippines. We are more fortunate here in Singapore because we are small. Right. So thanks a lot for introduction. Can I invite Satyajit? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I'm so sorry. To give a brief introduction of your work pertaining to CX.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. You can pronounce Tiaji or Aji, you can call Aji. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks for the CX event today. It's a honor for me to be a panelist in this morning. Yeah, today I'm now head of West Java ICT department. 1 year before, I was a former head of Jakarta Smart City. Juan is one of our team also. This is my best colleagues. And what we did in not only in West Java, but also in the Jakarta Smart City is how we can deliver the public services related with the IT, not only applications, services, and etc. Can accept by the customers. Customers itself is citizens in our province and our city. And we develop some of the applications, some of the solutions, and also we did like evaluation itself and used some analytics to improve not only the UI, UX, but also the customer experience. So our applications for example, in the West Java, we developed we call the Picobar. Picobar is a platform to handle the COVID-19 in the West Java. Yeah, we built around 35 features in there and covers more than 50 million people live in the West Java. Yeah, actually we have 50 million people live in Jakarta, and our task is how this application can accept by the citizens and also useful for the citizen to manage the COVID-19 and especially in the West Java. Thank you.
Thank you so much. 15 million people. Wow, that's a lot. There's a huge population actually. Yep. Can I invite John? Not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. John, to just give a quick introduction of yourself with regards to the work you do in CX.
Sure, thank you, Dr. Adam. And I think it's my pleasure to be able to contribute in this event. I think I have contributed several times, and glad to see Bastian here as well. So let me share a bit of introduction from my side. So as has been introduced, I'm the current head of data analytics. So I think my interest is to use data, how to improve the experience. So in here, the scope can be from many domains or areas. I think one thing that I can highlight is about the one-stop service apps or the so-called super apps from Jakarta Smart City. So we are trying to build this, and for sure our data analytics recommendation will be critical to provide a better experience for the user, which area, which service, and then how's the so-called navigation pattern, the user behavior. I think we have been analyzing that. Second one, in Jakarta itself, we have around 200, 300 government agencies, and some of them, they are building their own database, website, mobile apps, and so on. So I think we are thinking how to have a seamless integrated solution application that can be easier for the citizens to use it. service. So I think those are some of the critical areas that we make improvement. For sure, there will be improvement in terms of the customer experience, especially when our citizens, they are utilizing or using our government services. I think those are the two examples. And I think during the COVID-19 context as well, we are developing many initiatives from the transportation, from health, and then from the technology, social, and so on, right? So I think based on that, I think we can discuss further, and there will be some concrete examples on that. And I think as a closing, I think in the end, what we are trying to do is not just about the so-called digital technology and so on. We want to hear directly from our citizens as well, and that's why we approach them. We give like a survey, and then we try to understand what kind of exact feedback that they can give to improve our services, policies, and hopefully in the future we can integrate more and more services in Jakarta Smart City. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for the introduction. So thank you to the panelists. I'm going to proceed on to the actual discussion. So I'd like to first start off by asking Ron, because, just a continuation. What are some of the, in your opinion, foundations for CX success? Ron?
Or is it to me? Okay, sorry, I missed your name mention. Sorry for that. Okay, thanks, Dr. Adam, for that. I think it's very critical to have a really clear foundation about the CX success. In my opinion, I think there are many facets or areas about this. But if you ask me in a simple way or simple foundation, is the ability to understand the other perspective. Some people use it empathy. So I think it's the very critical areas wherever you are. Last time I worked in the industry, so now I'm in the government context. So the ability, the willingness to really understand our customer, our citizen, I think is the really critical foundational area. The other follow-up, for example, like the technology, the program, the initiative, I think those are the expansion of this so-called kernel or center. So I think for those of you, the audience from the government, from the industry, to really know and to really understand your customer, your citizens are highly critical. And sometimes you must be open. You don't have your so-called initiative or program in mind. Oh, okay, I already have 5, 10 initiatives that I want to share to the citizen. But I think in the first place, you need to be open to really understand what are the actual needs. And from there will be iterative processes to really adjust your strategy, to really adjust your program, investment, and so on. I think those are the fundamental principles that I can share. For sure, during our discussion later, you can have some more detail and I can provide some more concrete examples about this. Thank you.
And I also like to direct the same question to Francel. Or what do you think are some of the foundations for CX success?
Yeah, I just would like to reinforce what Juan already said a while ago. So he said that we need to understand our customers. So in these terms, we need to see what they really want to come out of whatever service that they're trying to achieve. So first, for example, time. If people want fast service, then we offer fast food, and so we have to adjust to what the customer actually needs. Also, we have quality. Do we provide good quality? And that's why customers come back to us, because we provide very good quality goods. We also have maybe price is one, like is it cheap, or it's just part of their budget and all that. Another is luxury. It could be they come back to you, they avail of your services because it's luxurious. And another could be user friendliness. They use your site, your applications, and everything because it's very, very easy to use. So with them, with that said, we have to see what their needs are, and then we treat our customers good. And then because of how we treat them, our reputation now spreads. And other than having so much advertisements and commercials, returning because they can be the best recruiters for our services. Our word of mouth is actually a thing. So all in all, I would say that, yeah, we really have to pay attention to our customers.
I think that's an interesting point, which I'd agree, but from my experience, sometimes when we want to, of course, this depends on what sort of services you like to provide, but sometimes trying to cater to the masses, especially when you have a huge population, the obvious difference would be age groups. That's a everyone in a different age group wants different thing, even though it's the same services. But even demographics in terms of the wealth, poverty, you will see the requirements being different too. So how do you manage that? Because you're developing one app for a population that is so big, and at the same time trying to cater to different demands, and having constraints of your own. So how do you guys go around handling that?
Is that directed for me?
Yeah, yes, the continuation, yes.
What I said earlier is that we have to listen to our customers. So the voice of the customers is actually a thing. So if you could allow me to share my screen, I have like just a slide, very brief, and to show you how I would like to point out what I was saying. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes. So here, in the foundations for success, for CX success, you see here with the customer, we have to devise all of this. So we have to see our strategy, sales, price. We have to adjust accordingly. Our communication, how to communicate with them, stating therein that you said that there are different voices to it. They are different. They have different levels. So for us to get their loyalties, how do we communicate to them? So we see opportunities through this and satisfaction. So how do we do this? We have three keywords. We have to retain, to keep our customers contacts happy, and monitor how do we deliver it, and how do we grow. So we have to identify opportunities for growth and confidence for us to have customers who buy more. And then how do we expand? So with this, I said earlier that word of mouth is how we secure referrals. And with this, we have also case studies. So here with listening, we have different aspects to it. We have to be concerned. How do we install effective feedback mechanisms, understanding our customers as well as their complaints? So not just good and also the bad. And we also see our employees. Are they really concerned to the customers? And if we see employees like this, we have to empower them. And overall, the monitoring of the customer's behavior. So you said a while ago in different aspects, and getting involved personally. So as we get involved personally, we adjust accordingly. So all of these things leads to effective listening to the voice of our customers. So we have 5 elements to it. How do we do it? That's what your question was. We have to define what are the concerns. And with these concerns that we see, we have to design our activities accordingly. And as we listen to them, it's participative. We analyze what can we do, and then we act accordingly. So basically, that's how we would intend to do it. And all in all, I would surmise that we have to learn the industry, talk with internal teams to learn about their customers, their mentalities, and the challenges that we encounter along the way across different silos. And then we also have phone calls, what are customers complaining about, and positive that customers are saying. So all in all, I could say again that we have to pay attention to our customers. Yep, back to you.
Okay, I think that makes sense. Would the other panelists have any, add-ons to what Francisco has mentioned?
Just a very quick
Yes, sure.
additional one. For me, I think it's a very practical example. Because I think the question is interesting, whereby we have so many demographics. I think in Jakarta, we have around 10 million citizens. And for sure, at Jakarta Smart City, we cannot serve everybody at the same time. So even including to serve our own internal government agency, we have 200, 300. So if you ask me pragmatically, normally after we listen to our customer, for sure, there will be iterative approach, right? Whereby we need to align with our initial strategy, our investment, our plan for this year, our long-term plan for 5 to 10 years. So I think all these complexities must be considered carefully, and I think that's the current situation. So if you ask me, I think I practically I will try to prioritize. So from the data perspective, at least we have two variables. The first one is the data availability, and then the second one is the impact. So I'll try to propose ideas, initiative, customer so-called experience improvement with government agencies or with programs that have substantial impact, and then they are ready to work together with us. So I think that's a simple, pragmatic example. But for sure, I have to admit that we need to consider sometimes the demographic of citizens. Maybe, let's say from the economic, social perspective, not that impactful, but we need to take care of them. So I think understanding the inequality, diversity is another part of the government that will be highly crucial moving forward. I think that's my additional comment on that. Thank you.
That's very useful. Yeah, thanks a lot for your insights. I understand there are new participants who just joined the panel. Perhaps I can request Mr. Iwan to introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you, Mr. MC. It's Iwan. I am currently acting director for ICT at the National Agency for the Assessment and Application of Technology, or BPPT in Indonesia, in Bahasa. So sorry, I'm joining in. I joined in the middle of the course. Yeah. Maybe I will listen before I can give some presentation or something like that. Thank you.
No worries. Welcome to the panel. So to continue on the conversation, I would actually like to now turn the direction to Ajit in terms of, so just now the other two panelists has mentioned that the voice of the customer is very important, and some of the methodologies that they have used to ensure that the voice is properly heard. But given the fact that all of you guys, and especially yourself, are managing huge populations and there's limited budget, there are constraints. So how would you go about, overcoming some of these challenges in your setting for CX transformation?
Okay, thank you, Adam. Yeah, let me talk about our province. Actually, we have not only the big population, but also we have around 27 cities. And if we talk about the demographic, it's various. Many people live in the forest, also live in the city, and etc. So our biggest challenge is overcoming the digital divide. Not only talking about the digital infrastructure, but also digital literacy is some of area is low. Yeah. So the first time, what we want to do is how we can map these situations, and then we can define some strategy after that. Yeah, actually, we develop, we call the digital team. Like in the Jakarta, we creating the Java Digital Services is unit under West Java ICT agencies. The core unit who brought the agile culture to transform the government bureaucracies. Yeah, it gives space for young tech to promote partnership and simplify the problem using the digital innovations. So we need to know more about the citizens, and then we bring the technology. And actually, when we build the application, it's not cannot run by once. So we need to, like a cyclist, we talk first to the citizens, not only for the people who normal people, but also for the disabled. So we mix some information coming from the citizens to fix our UI and UX. So this is like a looping cycles. Yeah, so we fix after we got the aspiration from the citizen, or we get the feedback, and then after this, so we need a long time before we deploy this into the citizen. Yeah, more than 3 months. We make sure about the customer experience before we deploy to the citizens. Yeah, this is one of our because as you know, the digital literacy is very low, so we need extract the more information coming from the people from the low digital literate, like that.
Yeah, actually that makes a lot of sense, because you will have, you know, people, as you mentioned, living in the forest, so they may potentially have only been using very low tech feature phones,
Yes.
and to actually do some of the the service, to provide some of the services, you actually have to use a smartphone. And
Yeah.
even that, the types of smartphone that they use in Indonesia, I know BlackBerry used to be very popular in Indonesia. I don't know what's the most favorite phone right now, but we imagine trying to design one application to satisfy so many types of users, not only from the technology aspects, but also from the demographics, can be very, very challenging. Yeah. Maybe I would like to direct it back to Francel, given that you're from the Philippines. What are some of the strategies you have taken to help overcome this, given that you have been developing solutions for the country as well, but from a military perspective?
In our case, for the military perspective, we have to also be very flexible. As you said a while ago, there are different demographics, and the same is true in the Philippines. We are a country of 7,100. We're an archipelago, so it's very, very difficult for us to unite and have like a standard solution for everyone. Because even just for language or dialects, we have 220 dialects, each one distinct from each own. So we have different cultures, we have different perspectives on how to do things. So what we did in the national task force to localize the implementation. So because we believe that if you are from that locality, the leaders in that locality know more about their constituents, so they can actually implement solutions that are apt to the situation of their own locality. So that's what we did. We have the zoning and we have the localized implementation. That's how we addressed the standardization of implementation of our of the COVID policies that we are implementing. So yeah.
So out of curiosity, is it one app or multiple apps that you guys deploy?
We have multiple apps, and then we are now going to implement an API to unify all of these applications. So at first, because everyone tried to implement their own systems for different localities, now we have that task to integrate and let these applications interoperate to one another. So 2 words: integration and interoperability. So that's our challenge for now. So that is how we are intending to unify what we already have in the works, because it's already implemented. So now we just have to adjust accordingly.
I see. Okay, that is actually sometimes more difficult to fix existing solutions made by
True, and it's more
other people than to develop. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe Erwan, would you like to share some of your thoughts on how, in your setting, you overcome challenges with regards to CX transformation?
Sure. I think I'll try to relate from the previous explanation from Francois. I think it's highly relevant as well, and I'll try to answer your question from there as well. So when we talk about the CX transformation, I think in the end, what we want to achieve is the change or improvement, especially from the customer or citizen perspective. And I think from our experience in Jakarta, not only Jakarta Smart City, I think we also face the actual challenges about we have so many websites, applications, data databases, and then we try to integrate that. So I think practical inputs, especially for the audience, you need to think or ponder about what kind of level of integration that you want to work with. So I think the most so-called sophisticated or the most complex one is the actual application integration, whereby let's say I have 20, 30 agencies, and we are working, let's say, with the industry, with the university. Oh, okay, you have apps, I have apps. Let's work together, and then the front end, the back end database, we can so-called merge and combine. I think that's the most so-called sophisticated integration. But secondly, I think you can just think as the other applications or solution like just a data provider. Sometimes we just need to prepare, let's say, an API, transfer the data, and then let's say about the bike sharing, for example. You know all the location by all other operators. You don't need to develop your own, and you just need to know the data, right? Or I mean, let's say about the public transport, about MRT, LRT, bus, and so on. I think these are the second level of integration. And third one is the most practical, and we are having this with quite a number of our so-called initial partners, because we want to build the startup ecosystem and then the research ecosystem in Jakarta as well. So if when they already have their own existing solutions, mobile apps, and so on, I think we can just promote them via our so-called super apps. The icon is there, their banner is there, their link is there, their services are there. Then you can just click and you'll be directed there. But from the citizen perspective, it's quite seamless actually. So because from the front end perspective, there will be the integrated so-called model that can be accessed by the citizens. I think this is my practical comment about the level of the integration. And secondly, I think it can be relevant towards transformation, because you asked me, transformation can be really fast. Let's say 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, you can see a really drastic improvement. But secondly, it can, I mean, from what I experienced in the industry and in the government as well, sometimes you need to be patient. You need to improve pragmatically, phase by phase. Sometimes it's not be so obvious in the first 1 to 2 months, but after 6 months, 12 months, you keep doing it, then you realize there are exponential improvements. So I think that's a difficult approach. And when I talk about the integration, I think that's exactly our own experience in Jakarta. And now I think we are happy that we have more and more partners from the industries, agencies, even the national level, and then international agencies as well who wants to work with us, and then so-called combine and integrate their so-called application and services with us. I think that's my comment about the transformation and also about the integration. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Thanks a lot for sharing. That's interesting. Would Erwan would like to contribute? Share some of your experiences.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. BBT has a service quality certification authority which issue digital signature. And in the beginning, it is very difficult to convince people to use the digital signature, because they prefer to sign directly or sign manually. But during the pandemic, is it a very people is what can I say? People want to do the signing without facing each other. I mean, we want to do this signing with internet facility online. So our service is like a digital signature, which is used for formal signing, because our certification already is already certified by the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology. This digital signature is now very many people use this for the formal signature. I think that this pandemic is very helpful for us to make people understand what is the benefit to use the digital signature. Maybe this one can I share our experience in servicing people and how we can achieve the better use of these services. I mean, the digital signature when we are already in the when we do work from home. So that's all, I think. Yeah.
So I guess the point I get from your sharing is getting the users to understand the benefits of why they should be doing this is very important. Yeah, which I think is a very valid point. Yeah.
Yeah. To
So
convince
if you would,
people that this is there are many benefits. It is difficult, but it's important. Yeah.
yes. So with that, I'd like to pose a question to the panel. So with COVID-19, consumer behaviors have changed with strong emphasis on digital interaction. So we're moving now to more online. Does this actually bring new challenges in terms of CX? And how has your priorities changed with COVID-19, if assuming there's any? So maybe we can start off with Ajit.
Okay, COVID-19 is a new phenomenon. The pandemic presents an era-defining challenge to public health, economy, and social sectors, and etc. Yeah, we cannot change this scene, but it does change our behaviors. Yeah, we want to reduce the risk of physical contact by accelerating public services into more easily accessible, data-driven, and also digital services. And we want to change the digital divides by increasing the digital experience and digital literacy into villages. As you know, we have more than 5,000 villages in our province. So as well, to improve the citizen prosperity in rural area is our mission. So we provide not only the applications, so they can directly buy about something using the applications. We together with some big commerce provide the e-commerce offline and online. We do like online and offline, and then we still protect the citizen to not contact not to minimizing the COVID-19's numbers using the technology. So they not only use this for the sample paying tax and also for the aid benefits for the social safety net. Also, we use this for verification data. So we minimizing the contact to the people using this technology like that.
Right. Would maybe Juan like to share some perspective?
Okay, sure. Thanks for the question. I think COVID-19 is a really monumental and also important phase, in our life and history. So for sure, if you see this from the customer experience perspective, first there is something new, but again, the second one, there is something is just similar, the same, or I mean, we see it so-called usual. Yeah, there's something new is the expectation from the customer or citizens about the actual physical interaction. So for sure, it's a really opportunity for us to really transform, as mentioned by Pak Irwan. I think I have been using the service as well. In the government in Indonesia, it's very difficult to have digital signature, but with this COVID-19, we can apply, implement it very urgently and very easily. And then again, this happens in many areas as well. The way the customer so-called transacts and also request for services, and then creating applications. So I think e-government in general will be more and more, it will be easier and will be faster to be implemented and to be expedited as well. I think that's the first comment about the change of the behavior expectation from the citizen. But secondly, what I want to emphasize is something that is similar. I think in the end, in terms of our approach, it's so-called nothing new. We need to understand our citizen and the changes. Changes can be from anything, can be from COVID-19, can be from disruption of the technology, can be from any other so-called events or any other factors, right? So we see it in the similar lens whereby, okay, there are changes, but our perspective is the same. So we iterate, we try to understand what are the changes, what are the deltas, and then how to approach this to our initial strategy. So I think this part is actually the same. It's already consistent with our existing approach in the last, let's say, 1 to 3 years. So I think this is the part that I want to highlight to you. So especially for the audience, you can reflect back what is your so-called strategy, what is your approach, and see this pandemic as a so-called as a trigger. But in the end, you are not only being pulled by this trigger, you need to really think through internally and try to adjust accordingly. How does these changes fit into your existing approach, institutions, policy, and strategy? I think that's my additional comment. Thank you.
That's good to know. Thanks a lot. Francel, would you like to share some of your perspective?
Yeah, in this case, because of the pandemic, we were kind of like forced to go online, like virtually, like most of our transactions are now, migrated online. So first, we have to consider that not everyone is tech savvy, and also not everyone has the gadgets or the hardware that is necessary for all this, because even in the education sector they have to move everything online. So with all that, I'm also, as I said, I'm a certified ethical hacker. So with things going online, we also need to consider the security of the data that goes online. So because for say restaurants and other industries all going online, they have to consider the security of the data of their customers as well, because if their systems get hacked, it's also going to be a security breach and they will lose customers in that process. And also if their system gets hacked, they will also lose the tendency to get customers if they don't have the services available online. So with this, we need to balance the security and the availability aspect. And so it's like a balancing game in order to get this, because if it's more security, it's also less user friendly. And so, the customers get wary, and because of this, you have to change passwords or say passwords with different uppercase, lowercase, and all that. So because it's very, very tedious, they lose the ability to gain customers, because the customers will say, oh, it's very difficult to log into that site, so I'd rather just go to others. So this is a balancing game also for us in terms of the pandemic going online and migrating online. So yeah.
I guess it's interesting you mentioned it, because the whole idea is to improve the customer's experience, but the requirements from security actually brings on. So before you can actually enjoy the benefits brought off by these applications, this software, you have a precursor where the security requirements add on a layer of frustrations, and to the user, there's no difference. All the user knows is I'm coming onto this application, you're making it difficult for me. Okay, that is a very interesting perspective. I'm curious though, because you mentioned that due to the diversity of the end users, some of them may not necessarily have the tech. And this was also mentioned earlier on by Ajit. Some of the users actually lives in forest. So in the event where they really do not have the necessary equipment, what are some of the strategies and plans that you guys put in place to bring them on to this journey? Maybe
One example of that.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah. One example for that in our case is the QR codes. You see, in our country, for us to conduct contact tracing, what they do is they put QR codes outside their restaurants, for example. So for you to come in, you have to read QR codes and all that. So the thing is, not everyone, especially the poor, they don't have smartphones, so they cannot read the QR codes. They don't have the mobile phones for that. So we thought to reverse the process. So instead of us giving the QR codes and them reading it, we give a printout of the QR codes to our constituents, and they bring it somewhat like an ID. So whenever they come in, it's the facility now who has the budget to have hardware to read the QR code from the printout that the customers have with them. So that's the thing. We have to adjust accordingly to the needs of our customers.
And do you provide provide that hardware? Is it free, or does the users have to pay for it?
It's free. They just need to they just need to get a printout of a QR code. So it's yours. It's like an ID. It's like a printed
Got it.
thing, and then you just have it, and then the reader is from the company, not from the individual.
Got it. So you do it reversed. Instead of the users identifying the places they go, the places identify the user when they come.
Yes.
Got
Yes.
it. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. One, would you have any experience to share, or some of the strategies that you may have used?
Okay, maybe one example about I comment about the so-called the inequality of the access, and I'm also interested to give a brief comment about the security. So I think in terms of the demographic you mentioned, right? Not everyone has the access, let's say, to the technology application and so on. And I think that's the role of the government in this context, Jakarta Smart, to really understand about that. So to be open with you, not everyone is ready for the so-called digital experience. Some of them need digital so-called literacy. So I think in that area, I think we need to strategize accordingly where they are in terms of the phases, maturity, and so on. For these kind of people who needs the so-called literacy, we can teach them, we can so-called lend them certain devices, which is we can work together. We have the collaboration framework and platform as well during this COVID-19. As some example, like the unfortunate students or workers, they need certain devices, and at the same time, we know some citizens, so-called the more middle upper class, they have, let's say, 3 to 5 devices per person. So I think in this kind of situation, we can have the so-called the balancing, give and take, supply and demand. So I think that's one initiative that I can share with you, and I think the digital so-called literacy education have been so-called shared as well, not only to the students but also to the, let's say, the small medium enterprises, to the, let's say, elderly and so on. I think that's the comment I want to make. And secondly, about the security, I think it's interesting because when we relate security about customer experience, I think we try to contrast them. It's true, sometimes we need to have additional steps about like security, and it's not as seamless, as simple from the customer perspective. But again, I want to emphasize from the government perspective, I think security is the experience. That's what I want to really point out. So if you're not secure, it will be a bad experience for the users, for the customer, for the citizens. So I think it's our role to really take care of this. And then again, I think as a government, it's our so-called business to ensure the governance, the security as well. Again, the balance is, there are a lot of debates about that, depends on the application, depends on the sensitivity of the data. But I think the very fundamental principle I want to share, you can't really so-called polarize. It's actually a unity, actually. You need to consider that comprehensively between experience and security. I think that's my brief comment. Thank you.
Yep, I totally agree with you. We have that issues when we try to implement solutions in Singapore as well. So we try to give citizens a physical token that is low energy, doesn't use Bluetooth, so there's no contact tracing for citizens who don't want to use their mobile phone. And we had a huge issue because the citizens would say, hey, you're giving me a device. For the mobile phone, I could turn off the application. I could turn off Bluetooth, so I know you're not tracking me. For this device, I have to carry it 24 hours a day, wherever I go. What's the privacy and what have you? But actually, there's no concerns for that. It doesn't emit enough data. It just, it's more in the sense that if the two devices come into contact, you know that there have been interaction. So if someone has COVID-19 and it goes around, roughly, who has been in contact. That's it. It doesn't really track where you go, etc., etc. So security is a big issue, I think, and you guys have rightfully mentioned that. I was just looking at the time. We have a few minutes left. So I think I'll wrap it up. It has been a very interesting discussion. But what I've gathered, and I don't know if you guys will agree with me, the key really is understanding your user and their expectations. Differentiating between the needs versus the wants. So what they need may not necessarily be what they want, and what they want may not, so the other way, what they want may not be necessarily what they need. And given the context of how you guys implement it, because it's large-scale implementation across huge demographics or huge disparity, there may be a situation where you have to do various iteration. And this is where the change management, I think Francel mentioned as well, the voice of customer, how do you manage that, prioritize that, get users to buy in, Irwan also mentioned, getting them to understand the benefits of the application is very important, or else they don't want to use it. So I think the rest of the aspects of it is really technical, just supporting technologies, and which is what one mentioned very early on. The key really is the end user. The technology is just the enablers, the tech to help put all this in place. Right. With that, I would like to draw the panel to a conclusion. Thank you so much to all the panelists for joining today to share your valuable experiences and perspective. Thank you so much. Bhavna, over to you.
Thank you so much, Adam. Excellent panel discussion this has been, ladies and gentlemen, and some really great key insights coming in from our experts. So once again, a hearty thank you to each and every panelist of ours. Thank you once again.